In today's show, we're going to talk Chicago Bulls with one of the hosts of the Locked On Bulls podcast. Big Dave's here. All right, let's get into it. It's coming up right now.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another Monday of Locked On NBA. I am your Monday host, Josh Lloyd. I also host the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, and you can check out the channel here on YouTube. The link is in the description below. We are a couple of weeks into the NBA season, and lots of interesting things happening right across the league. We're going to talk Chicago Bulls in just a minute, but before we get into talking about the Chicago Bulls, I have to tell you that finding great talent doesn't have to be a second job. You can hire faster and better than ever with Indeed. Indeed is a hiring partner that gets you what you really want, a short list of quality candidates as fast as possible, because you can do it all. Attract, interview, and hire all at Indeed. Don't struggle on your own to find quality candidates. Indeed can help you hire the right people right now. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process. Indeed, so you can find talent with the skills you need through tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description, and you can even invite them to apply right away. With Indeed Instant Match, over 90% of employers get quality candidates as soon as they sponsor your job post. So, that's according to Indeed data. So get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/lockedon. Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. I'll tell you what we need right now. We need to talk some Chicago Bulls because they are coming fresh off the back of beating the NBA's best regular season team from last year. That is the Utah Jazz. They've started out on fire with just that one loss coming to the New York Knicks. Big Dave is here from the Locked On Bulls podcast. Dave, there were some questions, I guess, the Bulls after they started 4-0 beating a bunch of, let's be honest, shitty teams. But that win over the Jazz, yeah, how important is it to get a win like that against a team like that in the manner that they did?
Oh, it's very important to get that. One, because it, lends you credibility because, as you just said, nobody was respecting the first 4 wins that we got, even though, you play who's in front of you. But the Jazz, as you said, the best team in the West, came in undefeated, offensive rating off the charts. They were missing Mike Conley, but, they're still super formidable. You got Rudy Gobert, you got Donovan Mitchell, you got your boy Ingles. I'm sure you love Ingles. But then, so you had that team out there, and coming off of that tough loss to the Knicks, which was like the first real test when people actually started paying attention to the Bulls. And then you get that loss and people like, see, told you, they probably aren't that good. So to come in and to win decisively like they did against Utah, yeah, definitely a big win.
We know before this game, we found out that Patrick Williams is going to be out for the rest of the season with this wrist dislocation. I spoke in the offseason, we spoke about the lack of depth perhaps that Chicago has, especially at that forward spot. There's not a lot behind Patrick Williams with, here you got Derek Jones Jr., you've got Marko Simonovic there, but they're just going to go small. They're going to play DeMar DeRozan up at the 4. They're going to bring they have brought Javonte Green into the starting lineup. Yeah, Patrick Williams, I wouldn't say had the best start to the season, but in terms of size and just being a guy who can defend up at the 3 and the 4, there's not that many options there. So while they did get that win against the Jazz without Williams there, is this a bigger loss than people are maybe making it out to be?
I'm going to say no, honestly. We love Patrick Williams. We know what he's going to bring, and I was very high on him coming into this season. It was going to be a big step for him, and the team definitely had high hopes for him coming in. But you have to remember, in the preseason, he didn't play one game because, he had the sprained ankle. Yep. So the Bulls kind of developed a little chemistry with Javonte Green being in there playing that 4 position. And you saw what Javonte could do because, honestly, nobody knew Javonte Green could do that. He came in, he was just aggressive, diving, cutting. Anytime guys were double teamed on the post, he was the first one cutting to the basket for an easy bucket. He's the one disrupting the passing lanes also. He just really did a really excellent job, and you saw that also against Utah. But you mentioned the depth. The Bulls, if they're deep at any position, it's that position as far as the wing is concerned, because they have no problem playing small ball. Billy Donovan loves running 3-guard lineups. It's his thing. He really enjoys doing that. If you look at the end of those games that they play, Caruso is always in there with Zach LaVine, with DeMar DeRozan, with Lonzo Ball. So they've been running those 4-guard lineups primarily since the season has begun. So it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal because of the size. It's what I'm saying, when that comes into play and things like that. But Derrick Jones Jr., as you mentioned, and those other guys, they're definitely going to step up, and they definitely did against Utah.
Now, Utah is also a small team. Like, they're running Bogdanovic and Royce O'Neal as their 3 and 4. Like, these guys are guys who on other teams could pass as 2 guards, really. Like, they're not that big. So, while it was great to get that win, what sort of teams out there do you think could give the Bulls a problem when they're running Green and DeRozan as their de facto 4s?
Oh, the first 2 coming to your head are the Milwaukee Bucks and the Los Angeles Lakers. Those teams, I mean, well, one, you got Giannis, who's a monster, who's a machine. Luck. There's nothing you can really do about that. He's going to do what he's going to do. But then you look at LA, and that's a big basketball team right there in LA. So, and they play them in a couple of weeks on a back-to-back after playing the Clippers. So, yeah, they got a tough little schedule coming up. So we'll see what it is then. But I'm sure Tony Bradley is definitely going to get some tick. He's going to be in there playing. I hope Vooch has rested up and healed and feeling better, because he's going to be out there a lot, for that size when they play those teams like that. So, yeah, if for those 2 teams off the top of my head, those are the first teams I think of they might struggle against. Who's
been the most important acquisition this offseason? I guess the obvious answer is going to be DeMar DeRozan, but there's Lonzo Ball, and there's also Alex Caruso, who's been awesome. So who has been most important to the Bulls' early season success?
Early season, it's DeMar. I mean, like you said, it's the obvious answer because of the scoring punch he provided. He actually won 2 games for the Chicago Bulls because of his scoring ability in the fourth quarter, and just missed a shot again against the Knicks to try to give the Bulls another victory where they could have easily been 6-0. But I also look at, like you mentioned, Caruso. I look at Caruso, man, and just what he can provide off the bench. Not only, coming in what he does defensively and those kind of things, but what he does for guards like Ayo, who's a rookie, and the things that he's going to learn from guys like Caruso, with that winning tradition, with that scrappiness, with that toughness on defense. Guys like Ayo are going to succeed in what they do on the basketball court when they're listening and playing under guys like Caruso.
Caruso, obviously, he's had that experience playing with the Lakers, but he's just really smart, like on the court. Like the things that he does, like little taps, little knocks, little body positions, little angles that he does, like it gets unnoticed. And I'm sure you, Dave, before the Bulls signed Caruso, you're like, oh, okay, the Lakers are just hyping this guy because he looks like a white accountant. Like, is he a cult figure because of this? Like, what's he doing out there? Is he actually good? And then he comes across. Like, I think I had him on one of my all defensive teams last year. Like, he's that good. But it's just all those little things that he is able to do that often don't get recognized by everybody. So has that been a surprise to you?
No, it hasn't. I knew what Caruso could do. I was definitely watching that Lakers team and very impressed, especially with his athleticism, which isn't talked about a lot. Yeah. That dude is athletic, all right? But I knew from the second the Bulls got him, he was going to be beloved, because one of the Bulls' favorite things to do is scrappy white guys are the Bulls' thing. And so when I saw Caruso and he was going to come up in here, I said, oh, they're going to love this guy. And plus he's athletic, and plus he's tough-minded. When he starts diving on the floor, getting those loose balls, and like you mentioned, when they see the IQ of him and when they see how smart he is on both ends of the floor, they're going to really fall in love with him. And you've seen it from day one, honestly. We saw it in practice, what he's been providing for this team, man. He's just been amazing. It hasn't been a surprise to me at all.
So with the way that Bulls have started this season, have you changed your expectations for the year?
No, my expectations are still the same. I had the Bulls at a 6 seed coming in. I still feel that way, especially losing Patrick Williams. That size, even though I think that they can maintain and still be a really excellent basketball team, it's going to be an issue at some point in time, in the season. But I still kind of got them at a 6 seed, man. So if they surprise me and go a little higher than that, hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think that's where I had them as well in the preseason, around that sort of mark, and yeah, it hasn't changed for me either. That one question we had was depth, and now they've lost a starter, so we'll see how they're able to recover. But it is going to be an interesting ride. They're one of the most fun and most watchable teams in the NBA, Dave, which we haven't been able to say for quite a while with the Chicago Bulls, so it's good times for you guys. Go and check out everything about the Chicago Bulls over on the Locked On Bulls podcast. Big Dave Watson, thanks for coming on Locked On NBA with me.
My man Josh, thanks for having me, man.